against my enemies, yeah. You see, you wanted to save you, and then learn how to raise you. But I forget you're from the wilderness.
Hello everyone, what is up? I am Rob.
And I am Eamon.
And this is Monster Fuzz. You're not looking at the camera now, Eamon, huh? Mr.
Just when I feel like it, like looking at it now and then I take away from it and then I look at it again, kind of, you come and you go. You don't want to, you treat the camera a little bit mean.
Oh yeah, be coy with it, like.
Be coy with the camera.
I get you.
Sensual camera work.
Hope everyone's doing well. Hope you're having a good day, wherever you may be. In today's episode, it's quite an interesting one, actually. It's a throwback to a time when we were a little Tommy Pugh's podcast. And we should actually address it now because we haven't. Our 4th birthday has passed. Forgot to celebrate
it. Hasn't all. We forgot to celebrate it.
Yeah. Forgot to celebrate it. It was the start of May, and we just missed it. The reason being was it falls loosely on a day. And in my head, I was like, oh, we'll do it when we're recording, but totally forgot. Yeah. But anyway. Happy birthday to Monster Fuzz, 4 years, some old. But anyway, back in the day, 4 years ago, we did a Shadow Person episode. This is a throwback to that episode because we mentioned, I think it was in that episode, something called the Dark Watchers.
Yeah, you mentioned them because I hadn't heard of them before, and you were like, oh, there's some like in the Appalachian Mountains. And I'm not sure if this is Appalachia. It was based off the back of that, basically, and I have like... I've shown you my little notes section in my phone, so I have like dozens and dozens of things. And this just seemed like a good one to do. But it was quite difficult to get. It's hard because like, let's say it's a little bit of a folklore thing. There's not a whole lot to get on this. So I had to pull a little bit from here and there. And even just there's some stuff at the end about people who sort of were around the area and they're just talking about the general spooky vibes. Because this kind of clicks in with... liminal spaces and things as well, you know.
Liminal spaces, of course.
We will someday do an episode on liminal spaces.
We actually really do need to. Yeah. Before we get into this episode, guys, a quick bit of housekeeping. Firstly, if you're watching on YouTube, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification. All of that stuff really helps the pod. And if you want to go further and give it a share, please do. We always like reading your comments and interacting with them, so I'll leave one if you're enjoying the episode. And if you are listening on audio, leave reviews or a 5-star rating wherever you are doing that. Also, a quick reminder that Patreon is the best way to support this show, and it is helping us improve the show. The whole video component is a result of you guys and gals and your support. So yeah, it's all appreciated, guys, and you get something in return. You get your ad-free episodes, you get your exclusive episodes, exclusive discounts for March, and lots more. You can also pay yearly if you like. Eamon, if they have any spooky stories, tips or tricks, where do they send them? Tips
and tricks for us should be sent to monsterfuzzpodcast@gmail.com. And perhaps you've seen some of these dark watchers in the Californian folklore. Write in and let us know about that. These are a strange group of shadow people. So I would be interested if anyone's out that neck of the woods.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember when I first seen these, and like you said, we mentioned them on an episode a long time ago, so I'm not quite sure, but I feel like they came up in the Shadow People episode.
It would make sense because they are kind of shadowy people, or at least they're silhouette people.
Yeah,
let's call them.
Because the way that we sort of handle topics now has kind of changed just a little bit, where like back when I was doing notes right in the early days, well, for one, you do notes more now than I do, but when I was doing it, I was kind of like more, here's like shadow people, right? And then you do a full rundown, and then you'd also do like notable shadow people.
Yeah.
But I actually think that's kind of the wrong way to do it, because again, like we see here, we have actually got a specific topic that we could do an episode about, and it's more nuanced and has more information rather than a sort of a glance at something. We also need to I need to get back to it. I will do notes about Bigfoot soon. We need to do more Bigfoot.
Summertime Bigfoot.
Well,
swimsuit edition.
With the video component now, we can actually superimpose the videos we're talking about on the video, so it actually makes it a lot.
Actually, it would be good to even just redo the episode where we looked at like the Marble, the Marble Ridge or all that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Well, yeah, what we could do actually is like just a for YouTube type of video where we go through some of the most viewed or our favorite Bigfoot.
Well, I loved that episode anyway because just watching them for the first time.
Yeah.
And there were some of them where it's like one of them specifically where it was a little bit obscured, but you were like, that's just a gorilla in a forest. If it's not Bigfoot, like it's not fake.
Yeah.
So it's either a gorilla that's escaped from a fucking circus or whatever. They don't have gorillas in the circus.
Oh, they
a
might
zoo,
Depends on the circus.
the zoo circus. What's the most dangerous animal you think they have? Just the lion?
Elephants.
But they're declawed. Yeah, that's true. Actually, elephants are
Seen a video
responsible for more deaths.
Did you ever see that video of an elephant and a rhino fighting?
No.
Who do you think wins? Elephant, rhino? What's your call?
Weight classes, you'd think the elephant would take it, but then rhino has the big like knives on its snout, which is probably. But then the elephant has tusks. You would see, because of what we've been culturally fed, like the rhino is more of an aggressive animal, and the elephant is more of like, you know, bar going around in his suit and his little crown hat. That's an old reference. Tell me, who wins? I feel like it's the elephant, but my heart goes with the rhino, if that makes sense.
The elephant absolutely child's plays him.
Yeah, really.
It's like
it's weight class stuff, because the elephant can just like.
It's like a human versus a fucking chihuahua. It's like, it's literally just like the elephant almost treats it like it's just an annoyance. It's like, what are you getting all aggro about, bitch?
And is it just hunching him out of the way?
I think how it plays out is the elephant flips him over onto his belly and stabs him through with his tusks. Yeah, he gores the fuck out of the rhino. He goes, now bitch.
There was some podcast I was listening to. It might have been Theo Vaughn. I can't remember. But it was like, you know that idea, the memory of an elephant, like an elephant never forgets. And it was like a woman who had mistreated an elephant and he wound up killing her. And then went to the funeral and fucked the funeral up as well. Like he was like, nah, it's not over yet, bitch.
Kind of a digression falls on the animal kingdom. A little bit of a tidbit I learned today. Bizarre. There's the type of, I believe it's a millipede.
Right.
That its natural defense mechanism against birds and things like that, and its natural predators, is to release like a noxious gas that is foul taste, and birds and insects don't want anything to do with it. So what do fucking monkeys do? They get the fucking millipede, they roll up in balls, these millipedes, when they're threatened, and they release the stink. Yeah. Monkeys pick them up and rub them all over their body like deodorant to keep all the insects off them. How fucking intelligent are these little bastards?
How long would we have to been in the forest before we figured that out? You know,
we would have been and gone, son. We would have been in the dirt. We wouldn't have figured that out. That's generational figuring out shit. They're like
generational figuring out shit.
But it is not as ancient wisdom passed down. That's crazy. That is like when you hear shit like that, you're like, fuck, animals are probably out more than what we actually think.
I know a lot more, yeah. Like obviously we had the joke here about like I was like, eat them all, be grand. But the reality is like, the more we do this podcast, the more I find myself, and it could just be where we've done hundreds of episodes, hundreds of hours of research, blah blah blah. I'm starting to get a little bit demented with muck monsters and bogmen. Do you know what I mean?
Insanity.
So I find like, with stuff like that, your brain sort of, it almost accepts really ridiculous stuff that you never would have accepted half a decade ago.
That is true, yeah. We're kind of desensitized to it almost.
Like if someone was saying to me, oh yeah, I was just walking on the Californian ridge there and I saw a load of these weird shadow people who are really tall looking. I was like, oh yeah, that's Los Vigilantes Oscuros.
Yeah. No, you would think that, yeah, absolutely. So, speaking of Los Vigilantes Oscuros, do you want to tell us about them?
Who are these lads? So they're called the Dark Watchers, and it's kind of like, I suppose one of the reasons I was saying there wasn't a whole lot of notes to go on is they don't really interact with people.
Right.
So it's an element of like, it's almost like the Watcher from the Marvel universe who just shows up when things are happening sometimes, you know, the big bald baby lad. So these have a similar kind of a buzz to them. So the Dark Watchers, who were also known by early Spanish settlers as Los Vigilantes Oscuros, it's a name given to a group of entities in Californian folklore, purportedly seen observing travelers along the Santa Lucia Mountains. So we had said Appalachia, and I believe there's Appalachian shadow people as well. Or is this area isn't Appalachia, California folklore?
This is like, not geography, fellas. I don't know. I know Appalachia is down... Yeah, kind of off to the east.
Because this started with me trying to find it for Dark Watchers of Appalachia, and then this is what sort of came
this
out
was the more predominant. No, Appalachia. I think it's more somewhere south that, and it goes up east, I think, is how that works.
Let's find out quickly,
Geography
just so as
falls.
not to completely derail this.
Yeah, no, I'm fairly sure though.
I think you're right, because Appalachia's that's not near the Pine Barrens, but the Pine Barrens.
Oh no, it wouldn't be far from the Pine Barrens, I'd say, actually.
Because the Pine Barrens aren't too far from California, are they?
No, the Pine Barrens are on the East Coast, son.
Okay, sure. You know about West Coast and East Coast because of all the rapping you listen to. Like, I don't understand.
Yeah, MC Pine Barrens.
Yeah. Oh, really bad news in the past day. Got a lot of timber now. I'm going to play.
Yeah, I don't think there's any rappers in the Pine Barrens. There's nothing in them.
No, well,
Pine Barrens are like New Jersey.
The Jersey Devil, yeah.
Yeah, southern there. Jersey's very much East Coast.
Right.
Yeah.
Appalachia.
Almost heaven, West Virginia, Blue Ridge Mountain, Shenandoah River.
Yeah, we're East Coast, Eastern United States. So
That's
Pennsylvania, New York State.
It's not even southern.
I just thought New York and California were all together. Like, I saw all the big places were all together.
Like Grand Theft Auto,
California,
like on top of each other.
You know, yeah, they're just like, sure, it's like the way Dublin and Northern Ireland are just beside each other. You know,
no, it's quite,
yeah, seemingly quite a big spatial difference there. But sure, look, lads, we're having
country roads
to the place I belong.
West Virginia. Yeah, I think that's all.
Was it Mountain Monster? What was it?
Yeah, that was the
Is that what the cryptid version is?
So yeah, go on there and tell us about this fucking before you went off on your geography.
I was just trying to make sure because we have a lot of non-us.
All right, no, you
read
that part there.
You know, I'm trying to help them. Yeah. So the Dark Watchers are described as tall, sometimes giant-sized, featureless, dark silhouettes, often adorned with brimmed hats or walking sticks. They are most often reported to be seen in the hours around twilight and dawn, from dusk till dawn. If you can find pussy cheaper anywhere else.
Come on, sex machine.
Turn around with the gun on his copies.
Come on, sex machine.
That I watched that movie relatively recently, and like I was so struck at the completely like perpendicular just turn it takes midway.
Flip.
It's like a gangster movie,
like
kidnap movie.
I thought his gun Mickey.
Oh no, his gun Mickey as well. That was probably symbolic of the script. And then like as soon as Selma Hayek starts dancing and then she turns into a vampire, you're like, right, so it's Robert Rodriguez is at it now, is it?
That's Selma Hayek, mom. I got worn out on my DVD by that.
She's still Thierry unreal. She's like nearly 60.
No, that shouts out Selma Hayek.
I think she could still wear a python well.
Kevin Smith, when he was writing Netflix, was just like, how can I insert sexy Salma Hayek somewhere into this plot? Remember he had her in he had her in one of the films
Kevin Smith?
Yeah, one of his films. Was it no, it wasn't Mallrats, what's the one with Chris Rock comes down from heaven?
Dogma.
Yeah.
She's in Dogma. That's right,
the sexy
but I don't think he wrote, because
did he not write that?
Dusk Till Dawn was
I know,
Quentin Tarantino, and then you would, like, if I was writing a movie,
that's
what
like, basically anyone that was writing Salma Hayek at that stage was like, Salma Hayek in underpants.
Yeah.
Basically, how can we write this?
I have like Samsung TV on like my TV. It's like it just plays kind of movies that were never not bad, but they didn't really get much clout.
Yeah.
The best one is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2: Secrets of the Ooze. That's on
classic.
repeat. I enjoy that. There's one called Banditas, and it's Selma Hayek and Penelope Cruz. Cruz, excuse me. Cruz out, man. I cruzed out a few times to that movie.
Speaking the Portuguese.
Your wife's Japanese. but it's kind of like when you see it, like, and it's not a very sexualized movie, right? And I watched a few minutes of it, but just when you see Selma Hayek's face, you're like, what a beautiful face.
She's one of those people that's probably too attractive.
Ridiculous.
It's like
she's too.
There's not very many people that are at that precipice of like too attractive, but she's
been doing it for like 4 decades.
Yeah,
like 4 decades.
I think she's actually like understated. And
actually, no, if she's 50, she definitely hasn't been doing it for 4 decades.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm in the Drake camp. But whatever Dusk Till Dawn came out, that was her like big break, right?
Yeah, but to get back to Dusk Till Dawn, I think there's a whole story as to why that film takes a flip, right? Yeah,
so basically Quentin Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez, so they said, you do half, I'll do the other half. And Robert Rodriguez is half. He was like, sure.
I think there's also stipulations where, like, was it to get Quentin Tarantino acting as well, maybe, or he said he'd do it if he could act
there's
in it
something
or
about-
something.
yeah,
There
yeah,
was
yeah.
some story behind that.
Because the
too,
two of
I think.
them, they did the Grindhouse
Yeah.
stuff together
Yeah.
as well. So, anyway, there's a bit of a digression.
Sure, look.
As we are wont to do.
As we do, we're after Santa Lucia.
Santa Lucia, not to be confused with Ana Lucia, who's Dominic Toretto's girlfriend in the Fast and the Furious franchise.
There you go.
Will it come to an end this summer? Tune in to find out. Yeah,
I've only seen one of them. I'm probably in a minority if I've only seen one Fast and
I think it
Furious
was
one.
like not even the last one. The second last one, the lads were in the stratosphere
Yeah,
in
they're in
like a
space or something
Dodge
like that.
Viper or whatever. It's all bananas. Yeah.
So we're after the Santa Lucia Mountains. They are a rugged mountain range, coastal central California, running from Carmel southeast for 140 miles to the Cuyama River in San Luis Obispo, Chuck Liddell. The range is never more than 11 miles from the coast. The range forms the steepest coastal slope in the contiguous, was that how you said it? Contiguous United States. Cone Peak at 5,158 feet tall, almost as high. Ben Nevis is just a little bit shorter.
Really?
So we've got that. Eamon, did you know Ben Nevis is roughly about a full 1,000 feet taller than Snowdon, which we have.
Really?
Yeah.
So we get to do another 1,000
Oh
feet.
yeah.
Class.
No. Can you take me higher? That's all I have to say.
We will obviously be listening to that with a boom box on the way up. Anyone who is coming to Scotland with us obviously will just be listening to Creed exclusively on the way up the mountain.
There's no room for any other type of music, so
Never has been.
get the fuck out of there with anything else. Cone Peak is 5,000 feet tall and 3 miles from the coast. It is the highest peak in proximity to the ocean in the lower 48 United States. Is a weird statistic there. The range was a barrier to exploring the coast of Central California for early Spanish explorers.
So these are the early Spanish explorers that are kind of going, what's with these silhouette guys?
Ties into the cannibal, remember the
Appalachian stuff. Yeah, I suppose
Oregon Trail.
I would
dudes.
imagine the Oregon.
No, there was one. It was the whole cannibal incident. Remember?
That was when
they were coming into California as well.
And there was lads basically.
I think
there was charlatans saying they knew ways, and then you'd get stuck and you'd have to eat your friends
then
out
you've
or
got
whatever.
dysentery and
Yeah. So, geez, an awful time to be alive when you think of just like think how dense with no roads it is, and just you take the wrong turn and you're goosed.
imagine being like in the back of a wagon back then with dysentery and like having some fever dream of the future where you're just sitting on a nice recliner couch playing Street Fighter 6 and like you have
And
a
you're
cup of
actually
tea.
in worse form because you keep getting bet, and you're like, oh, I wish I was fucking just going up an unwritten route in Appalachia.
But like it's mad, isn't it, how far we've come in such a relatively short amount of time.
But as Diary of a CEO will tell you, we're now too comfortable. You need to get up at 5 a.m, get into your freezing cold ice bucket for 4 minutes. The endorphins it releases are just to help me start my day.
Heat shot proteins, and then you take a Shroom Tech smoothie.
I take a Shroom Tech smoothie,
And then you
Lion's Mane burger.
Yeah, you run 10 miles then listening to your favourite David Goggins / Jocko Willink's Experience podcast.
Yeah.
Actually, you split them
What is Jocko's?
regimentally.
Yeah, Jocko, when you think it's hard, Jocko says good, and then David Goggins says, laughs hard, bitch, or whatever he says. What's his one? Stay hard.
Yeah,
he says
stay
stay hard. Which does
Stay
seem
hard.
like maybe it's the kind of ramblings of a man who can't stay hard, and this is where it's coming out in the wash, you know?
So an hour of each during your run, you flip flop between Jocko Willink's and David Goggins.
Yeah.
And
You have a special playlist where it just intersects between going from Joshua Willink into David Goggins. You just have Joe Rogan go, wow, man, wow.
And then when you get home, then you get a meat tenderizer and you just keep hitting yourself on the thighs with it just to make life hard.
Yeah, the harder the better. Wrap a bit of, put like a few aggressive carnivorous crickets in your socks so they'll be biting away on your ankles as you run.
If you're reading your phone or your newspaper, put it down face up on the floor and lie down on top of it to read it to make it difficult.
Doing a plank as well, so
plank
you can get
on
your
top
abs
of it.
nice and tight. Because like a healthy mind, healthy body.
Record a video of yourself wanking and publish it to your Facebook, so you have the strife of having to explain things to everyone. And then while you're explaining,
It's almost like that's what's going. what you want to do, Joe, is take a video of yourself masturbating vigorously and then post it to your social media, because at that point
Strips the ego.
strips the ego. Wow, strips the ego. That makes sense, man. Yeah.
Get into the ice bath for 40 minutes and respond to all your family members while you're in there. Think about life. What else you want to do? Then you hang yourself upside down from the stairs and eat your dinner.
You need to eat upside down.
Yeah, eat upside down.
You need to give yourself hiccups by drinking water from the back end of the cup.
Yeah.
And then abolish the hiccups by doing the same thing.
You can only drink cold coffee.
Only cold coffee,
And you can only
but not
play
cold
PS2.
press coffee. Like, yeah, you're only allowed to play PS2. Only the janky games. You're only allowed to play
Only play
early
PS2.
3D games where they didn't quite have it down
GTA 6, bitch, GTA Vice City Stories. That's what
Yeah.
you're playing from now
on
on.
a good day.
That's what you're getting.
You're playing the top down GTA London.
Online, local area network. That's how real G's operate.
Yeah,
And it's only through that strife will you learn how to become a real man.
it's true that strife that you learn how to become a real man.
That's it.
There's no other way. You need to
You
play.
need to go back and play PS2.
You need to play Star Fox on the SNES for really thick polygonal graphics.
Final Fantasy 3.
3.
Never mind all this
I wouldn't even
really
give him 3.
shite.
I'd give him 2 or 4.
Not 2.
No, not 2.
Oh, please.
I don't want to be a man that hard.
I'd rather go to Ukraine than play 2.
Yeah.
So, no, that's what you have to do, lads.
You have to do all these things.
Have
Like,
it too easy is fucking weird.
don't eat for a year
Don't eat.
to make sure your brain
Water.
fires really quick.
Vitamin water and drink Huel 4 times a day.
Huel is good. Yeah.
Huel, I'd actually like to try Huel, to be fair.
I give Huel a go.
Yeah. Sounds
Hugh
good.
was always, I thought, a nice name.
Go on then, Asher, tell us a bit more about
So anyway,
the lads.
so part of the reason that these guys are known as well as they are, the folklore has been written about in some famous novels. So, while sometimes attributed to the Chumash people who historically inhabited the central and southern coastal regions of California, nothing analogous to the legend appears to exist in their mythology. When Spanish settlers first moved into the area, they were said to have witnessed the Dark Watchers, whom they dubbed Los Vigilantes Oscuros. The Dark Watchers are most famously given a brief mention in John Steinbeck's Flight, included in his 1938 collection of short stories, The Long Valley. So do our author voice now.
Oh, yeah. You can do, yeah.
Pepe looked suspiciously back every minute or so, and his eyes sought the tops of the ridges ahead. Once in a white barren spur, he saw a black figure for a moment, but he looked quickly away, for it was one of the Dark Watchers. No one knew who the Watchers were, nor where they lived, but it was better to ignore them, and never to show interest in them. They did not bother one who stayed on the trail and minded his own business. There you go. Along with this, the Watchers are also referenced by poet Robinson Jeffers in the titular poems of his 1937 collection, Such Counsels You Gave to Me, and Other Poems. Very good. Poems.
Nice.
So his one goes, he thought it might be one of the Watchers, who are oft seen in this length of coast range, forms that look human to human eyes, but certainly are not human. They come from behind ridges to watch, but when he approached it, he recognized the shabby clothes and pale hair, and even the averted forehead and concave line from the eye to the jaw, so that he was not surprised when the figure turning toward him in the quiet twilight showed his own face. Then it melted and merged into the shadows beyond.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, pretty scary. That's a shite poem. It doesn't even rhyme.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about poems that don't rhyme, because then I'm just like, just write a short story. Like,
What even is it?
Yeah, I mean,
I don't fully understand poetry, and
I do.
I did a master.
I'm a master
You're a master.
You did
poet.
a master's, but I am a
You
master.
am the master. You are the master.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's like when I did writing and poetry.
But why don't you get but it's
I don't know. I just don't understand what's good poetry. Like, I don't get it.
Oh, like what's good and what's bad.
Like in terms of the sort of academic, like when they look at it,
I suppose it's something that I don't know. I'm not. I am a poem master, but
You're a
something
poem
that leaves an impression. It's memorable.
but it's the way
It's how it's delivered.
I think part of it is, so you have the likes of iambic pentameter, where it's like the Shakespearean 10 syllable stuff. But then when I look at other one, it's like the and there's just a break and it's fell, and
That's like
not even
postmodern.
postmodernism
Wank.
gone rogue.
Get out of here.
The last thing you want to do is listen to the postmodernists when you're trying to become a man. This Marxist garbage. You need to listen to democracy and freedom. Have a Liberty Burger. The only cheap meal is a Liberty Burger and a Freedom Shake.
I don't even know if people like democracy anymore, do they? I think
they don't seem to. Yeah.
No, I think we're out with democracy being even a thing now anymore. I think we're more into like
there is nothing anymore.
No, it's just like yeah,
we're riding on the waves of chaos.
Ride the waves. Tune in, drop out.
Do you know he became very conservative? Like
man's a ghoul.
He was like initially he was like take loads of acid, do all this stuff. Then he was like have children early and work hard. Like
that's
the acid brought him back to.
A lot of the most conservative people are old hippies. Like that's what happens. The kind of. I think what it is they see the folly of running around with dingleberries, hanging out your arse and writing everything in sight as they get older. They're like,
because they've gotten it out of their system, because it was class at the time.
They did it. Yeah. They did it, but it's like, no, bitches.
Like, I was listening to those guys, like, and they're like, well, you need to have kids early. Get them as early as possible. Get a contract, have a marriage. And it's like, that's grand and all. And to be fair, they're probably right because we're having less than 2 children. Right, a couple, which means that the birth rate is just decreasing. At the very best, it'll stay the same. But it obviously means generationally you're in trouble. But then our culture has driven us in a way where it's like, why would you do that? And it's not even allowing
you can't afford to do it.
Do you remember when you could just work in the grocery aisle of a supermarket and you'd have a grand old house?
Well, that was it. Well, that's it. You just can't afford to do it.
You can't do anything anymore.
Like the dream is a lie because it's like I can't afford to have 3 or 4 babies. And I gaff to house the cunts.
No.
So, you know.
We're the stretch middle. Anyway, John Steinbeck's son Thomas Steinbeck would grow up to report having seen the Dark Watchers during his childhood and later, along with artist Benjamin Brood, collaborate on a book titled In Search of the Dark Watchers, where they go into the history of the legend and interview locals who claim to have seen them, such as the famed Big Sur resident Billy Post. I did try to find some stuff with Billy Post, not to be confused with Johnny Fence, but I couldn't get it. According to newspaper archives in the mid-1960s, a Monterey Peninsula local and former high school principal went on a hiking trip in the Santa Lucia when he suddenly spotted a dark figure standing on a rock and surveying the area. When the principal called out to the other hikers, the creature vanished.
Alex. We'll say now, I've been on quite a few hikes, yet to see anything quite bizarre.
It's funny
because I would like to do a night hike sometime.
Night hike would be spooky, would it?
Tim does a lot of that kind of going
He's
out.
into getting spooked out.
We should do that sometime, a night hike. Maybe like live pod it.
Just do it somewhere.
Little one.
What if something happens? Is we have to do Facebook Live so people can send resources as soon as something bad happens. Oh no, the boys are in trouble. Got to send the helicopter.
Is that before or after we upload nude wanking videos onto Facebook to make our life more difficult?
Well, we need, I can just imagine being in work. You don't understand. If you want to get maximum productivity out of the staff, we need to put them in the most difficult situation imaginable and see how they react to it. Only through adversity can we grow resilience.
Pressure creates diamonds, baby.
Pressure creates diamonds, yeah. You know? That's apparently not true.
No.
Technically, yeah. But it's taken over.
It is. So we're going on to the fact or fiction of this. So illusions, hallucinations, or misinterpretation of natural stimulus brought on by exhaustion or isolation have been proposed by psychologists. Infrasound, which can be generated by wind, can cause feelings of uneasiness and anxiety in some people and is frequently connected to paranormal sightings.
Do you remember the big grey man?
Yep.
So we covered a lot of this infrasound. So go back and listen to that episode. We focus a bit more on that. This time we're looking at, there's something called a broken spectre, which this one gets into. But it is, it's basically just atmosphere messing with your, like, you know, they talk about EMFs being responsible for people having heebie-jeebie moments. So it's almost a similar enough thing.
I propose an idea as well that when you're on a long hike, you know, you're burning mad amounts of calories, and it's actually happened to me a couple of times on hikes in the past where if you don't keep yourself well fueled, you actually get really anxious and jittery because you're actually low on blood sugar. So you're and you get kind of weird. So like, I wonder, is that part of it too? Like,
what you got to do is fight through the urge to eat something so that you can learn to rise above adversity and fear.
But there's like, that's why that whole like that Andes mountain crash story is just so impressive that like those guys were able to hike out of there after being in such shit conditions for so long, because you're like, Jesus.
I think as well there's a certain point where you just have no choice.
Do you
know what I mean? It's like, we're either doing this or not. Like, I'm not getting any fucking crackers, so what's going on?
An optical illusion known as the broken spectre is a plausible explanation for this legend. A broken spectre, also called a mountain spectre, can occur in certain atmospheric conditions when the sun is at a particular angle. The subject's shadow can be cast onto a cloud bank around them, creating the illusion of a large, shadowy, humanoid figure. Eamon, I'm very curious to know about the broken spectre. Why don't you fill me in?
I'm very glad that you're very curious.
Yes, I am.
Because I have a few
Dying to
notes
know.
here. There's actually a picture as well, an image we can kind of talk about.
yes.
And when you see the image, you'll go, yeah, I've seen that before.
I have seen that before,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
So a broken spectre, also called the broken bow, the mountain spectre, or the spectre of the broken, which is it's one of the wrestlers' finishing moves.
Oh my God, Spectre of the Broken! He landed on his neck.
It's the magnified and apparently enormous shadow of an observer cast in mid-air upon any type of cloud opposite a strong light source.
Now, I don't remember seeing that ever, but I do actually kind of remember, I have a vivid memory of like the first time I ever clocked my own shadow.
Really, yeah?
Yeah.
When you were quite young.
Yeah, and you're figuring it out. I remember it was obviously quite a sunny day, and I was walking up, there's a street here in Wexford John Street, and I was walking up that street, and I remember seeing my shadow and kind of going like, what's this all about? You know, you're kind of, your brain is just taking in new information. This is something that's happening as a result of something else. What's going on? So yeah, maybe it was just a shadow person though.
No, it's funny that you say that, because I remember reading that some people, their very first memory is seeing their own reflection.
Oh.
So like they don't know what they look like, and it can be a jarring experience because you might feel a certain way,
And you don't.
and then one of their earliest and they'll see their mother or their father, and maybe they sort of, I don't know, construct an idea of what they look. Maybe not, but yeah, so it can be a really jarring experience for young people to see.
What's your earliest memory?
Falling into shite.
Is it?
Yeah, I was on my tricycle and I was going around Tremor. It was at a Sausage Creed nanny, and I fell off the tricycle and I went into shite, and then she picked me up and she brought me in and she cleaned me off. Like I had it on my jacket.
Caca all over you.
I was cuckoo for caca at the time. So yeah, my earliest memory was a good sort of setup for what the rest of my life would be like. Just
Dealing with
falling into shite on a regular basis.
Nice, that's a good first
Yeah,
memory.
it's the earliest one that I can. I'm not quite sure if it's my first, but to me, that's like, I still remember my grandma like picking me up.
You're covered in shit, Eamon.
You're covered in shite, you little bollocks. Get in here. You know, just probably got bet for being covered in shite as like a 1.5-year-old.
You were that young, were you?
I couldn't have been older. Like, my sister wasn't around. She was born when I was 2.5, so I had everything to myself. I was like a pig in muck. You know,
I have a couple, like, there's a couple I have. You see, we lived out in a house kind of almost in the country when I was very, very young.
Was that in Rosslare Way or
Drina, and I remember kind of like just the house. I have a really early memory of my cat Pyewacket and stuff like that. But then I have a memory of when around the time my brother was born, I was listening to XTC's Grass and eating sugary toast.
How much older than your brother are you?
3 years.
So it's about the same as me and my sister, like, give or take, yeah.
Yeah, so 2.5, 3. So so I would have been probably, I just remember in that memory going like, oh, this sugary toast is really good, like poverty food. Yeah. But like as a child, like there must have been that much fucking crack in that sugar that I was like, this is class. So like your brain is actually remembering.
And your brain's just like, wow, remember to eat sugar, because that must
fatty butter and loads of sugar.
A nodal memory. What do they call one? Like a pivotal memory or something like that. Where like
it's like get more of that shit as you grow up. So.
Your brain is like, don't ever stopping this.
I actually haven't had sugary toast in like literally 30 years probably.
Well, when they start bringing out Pop-Tarts and stuff, like,
get back on that. I think
the time for sugary toast was over when Pop-Tarts.
What are you talking about?
Well, let's eat some sugary toast.
I guarantee you sugary toast is nicer than Pop-Tarts.
I bet it's still good.
Pop-Tarts are shit.
I'd eat some sugary toast.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah, on our next Patreon, sugary toast, does it still hold itself to...
It says class.
I'd say it is, yeah. Butter, melty butter with a load of sugar on it, man. What kind of bread would you toast? Because back in the day you had white or brown, but now you get artisan bread and stuff.
I actually think no. You want like poverty.
You want poverty bread.
Like, well, not poverty, but you want like Brennan's or something.
Yeah.
Like
You could. What if you got a bit of like sourdough?
that's not.
Sourdough.
It's not gonna work.
So and the butter is melting through the holes.
It's not gonna work.
Big dose of sugar on it. Oh Lord of mercy! You're eating it. Oh, you're eating it. The sugar dribbling. The sugar mixed with the butter. Trans fats dribbling down your chin.
I'm telling you, that is like simple fucking good shit.
Yeah.
Just fat butter, like Irish butter. Are you
Yeah.
joking me?
Irish butter.
Motherfuckers in
artery
America
blocker.
are paying €20 for a block of Irish butter. In Kerrygold, bit of fucking sugar all up in that bitch.
Kerrygold.
So that what you're wanting is so much butter on the bread, on the toast, that, you know, the sugar, the layer of sugar you put on is melting down into the butter.
Clumpy, it's
No, it's melting into the
golden
butter.
sugar. Take
Melted,
on, yeah.
There's enough there that it's melting down into a good shit by, I'm telling you.
Oh man, just fold
Core
it,
memory.
Fold it in half.
My child brain was like, keep on to this shit.
Sugary
You will
butter.
grow tall and strong.
Yeah.
Keep eating sugar.
Little didn't know. Wait, slow down. Type 2 diabetes beckons. The figure's head can be surrounded by a bright area called hylogisshine, or halo-like rings of rainbow-coloured light forming a glory, which appear opposite the sun's direction when uniformly sized water droplets in clouds refract and backscatter sunlight.
Right.
Science fuzz.
Yes.
The phenomenon can appear on any misty mountainside, cloud bank, or be seen from an aircraft, but the frequent fogs and low altitude accessibility of the Brocken, the highest peak of the Harz Mountains in Germany, have created a local legend from which the phenomenon draws its name. The Brocken spectre was observed and described by Johann Silberschlag, some name, Silberschlag, in 1780, and has often been recorded in literature about the region. The spectre appears when the sun shines from behind the observer, who is looking down from a ridge or peak into mist or fog. The light projects the observer's shadow through the mist, often in a triangular shape due to perspective. The apparent magnification of size of the shadow is an optical illusion that occurs when the observer judges their shadow on relatively nearby clouds to be at the same distance as faraway land objects seen through gaps in the clouds, or when there are no reference points by which to judge its side. The shadow also falls on water droplets of varying distances from the eye, confusing depth perception. The ghost can appear to move, sometimes suddenly, because of the movement of the cloud layer and variations in the density within the clouds.
It's interesting, that, isn't it?
It is interesting, but I don't believe like that's what people are seeing with these. Because when you talk about
I think so too, yeah. I
walking,
agree with you.
like the if you were to see him on a far away mountain ridge, you wouldn't expect to have the cloud cover
No.
following that. And then they do say that, you know, they're 6-7 feet tall or whatever, but it seems, I was wondering what it was about. Was it about like the ancestors looking at you travel from Mexico to America? Like, is the folklore kind of is it maybe your culture watching you go on to assimilate to a different culture?
Yeah. Like,
your-
is that
your
what it's kind of
ancestors, like-
representing? Or
Yeah, like is it a
Yeah.
symbolic kind of a thing?
Yeah, I think there is a sort of a, what would you call it? Like a folkloric energy tied into like that kind of thing, emigration in particular.
Yeah,
There's it's like a powerful, like we had it here in Ireland with the famine ships, you know, when there were
the coffin ships.
Yeah.
Because they were, called the coffin ships, not because of how many people died in them, which is a common misconception, but because that was effectively your wake.
Yeah.
You would have a wake before you went to America because no one was ever going to see you again.
Yeah,
You know?
for many reasons. Could be you die of scurvy. Could be that you get there and you never have a chance to come back, you know.
And most people, it was a one-way ticket.
Yeah.
You'd never afford to get back. So that was it. You tried to make your life
And
in,
it was
in
a
America.
time where, like, you know, it wasn't a thing where
It wasn't tourism. You
would-
didn't go visit the family.
you weren't, like, it wasn't a thing. I doubt you'd even entertain the possibility
No.
of coming home.
No, because I think they used to, like, you literally used to have a
It's just
wake
like, I'm
before
going.
you went. It
Yeah.
was like, you know, like the
Like
going
their
away
day,
party
in a
was like,
sense.
yeah, they call it the wake, and that would be.
Yeah, so I think there is an energy to that. Obviously, it's a very sort of evocative kind of thing, because you've got the people that you're leaving behind obviously miss you. There's a lot of like sad energy there, bittersweet energy maybe, and same with the person leaving, is like they're on this journey where there could be a lot of hardships, it could be a lot of change, things might change for the better, things might change for the worse. I think it's always sad when you have stories of people who go somewhere to make their life better, but then end up in infinitely worse circumstances, which would have happened with a lot of Irish at the time.
Absolutely,
where they were like, yeah, I can't wait to get to America, or I can't wait to get to England and live a better life, and then they just become like pissheads and live in a slum somewhere. It's like, yeah, best of luck with that. And it's kind of, it's one of them things where you go back to like everyone was a child once, or everyone had hopes and dreams, and it's like, it just,
and you
turns
just get
out
stuck
cack.
in a rut, like.
And you're like, there's my life now, great.
Yeah, I think as well, like, for a lot of Irish people, and I would argue most immigrants everywhere, you like, there's an element of tourism immigration now, which is like that kind of mid-20s thing, or like early 20s, where you like
for
fuck
Irish
around
people,
in
it's like,
Australia or whatever,
Go Australia,
Canada, whereas back then it was like if you were going, you had to work hard. There was an expectation. I think a lot of people sending money home.
Yeah,
or I don't know how easily that worked back in like the 19th century.
What post?
It was just, you just posted cash back.
Money home.
So it must have been loads of times when people would just rob money that you were
used
trying
to
to
post,
get back to
like,
your family. Like,
the shit they used to send in the post, you wouldn't believe. Like, they used to send turkeys in the post, dead turkeys from England to Ireland and all. Like, my grandparents' family would have received over here. They had a slaughterhouse, like, where they did the turkeys and all that. And for Christmas, they'd send turkey carcasses in the post over to them in England.
It was like in a kind of a cold
probably
package,
not.
or just
probably
like
not.
dripping out of a fucking
Probably
envelope.
just dripping. Very mad envelope.
just mad, like a load of
literally,
envelopes
like,
stuck
it would have
together.
been there wouldn't have been cold storage, I don't think.
No, and you didn't, like, it's not like you had health and safety for food, you know. That's a relatively new thing.
You didn't even have plastic wrapping. I wouldn't have even known what the fuck they put it. Probably burlap or something. Some old stinking burlap fucking bag.
You know, wicker.
But yeah, no, I used to send cash in envelopes, and there are people, like my granddad would often say, we kept Ireland afloat during fucking De Valera's years because, you know, there was no money in Ireland.
Sent back.
And he would say that there was no money in Ireland at the time, and it was the people that were working in the likes of the UK and sending the money home that were actually keeping Ireland afloat. So by proxy, now keep in mind, little sort of caveat that my granddad reads the Daily Mail, which should be a qualifier for a lot of it. But he would say that, like, Britain basically by proxy kept Ireland afloat during the De Valera years without being officially a part of the politics over there, which I think is probably a little bit of bollocks.
I mean, there's a bit of
fractional
truth to it. Yeah,
I think some people probably did well off that, but
but I doubt anyone was doing, like, 'cause it's not like the Irish went to a different country and were working like mad diary of a CEO jobs.
They were playing PS2s.
They were listening to Joe
1955.
Rogan and they were like getting Jocko Willnick, all the boys.
Yeah.
But I think you know, they probably sent back enough that it's the same as it happens here when people come to live to Ireland, send some money back to their family if they're in more developing countries. So, like, you know, it's not enough to actually change the game, but with conversion rates and the value of the euro, they can do better, you know. So
yeah, interesting stuff, you know. Immigration fuzz,
yeah.
So
we do have a few actual accounts, yeah.
So here is accounts of the Dark Watchers. They used to live in Monterey. Oh, what am I doing here now? There we go. They used to live in Monterey, which is on the northern side, but about 30 minutes from Big Sur. I'll say this, you can feel the history in that whole area, if that makes sense. It does. Go stand on one of the points at night and just look and listen. It's an amazing area. And I miss living there so much. Too expensive though, in brackets. That's the case for a lot of people the world over now. I've read about the Dark Watchers, and having driven and stayed in that area many times at night, I could absolutely see where stories like that come from. It feels like it's a different place in time when you're out there. There's a lot of military history there too, with the old base. Between the native history of the area and Catholic and Spanish settlers and the military history, it's easy to feel things and sometimes see things in that area. I had some interesting experiences, never with Dark Watchers, but with other things that I can explain.
So that's kind of getting back to what we said at the start, where is it a kind of a liminal space? And is that kind of liminal space we brought up? We talked about like leaving energy in a places, and is the act of crossing the border an element of like leaving an energy, leaving a history behind?
Yeah, it's hard. Is
that even super close to the border? I'm assuming so. If the
I would actually say that I would actually say that like the border idea is probably not really one, because I mean they're lines drawn on a map. So,
as opposed to the actual, you're getting close to where you're trying to go. Yeah, I get you. I get you.
Maybe different regions have energies. Maybe I don't know. They're like, listen, it's hard to kind of have an idea on it, but yeah, maybe it's the energy of one place kind of following the energy going to a new place almost, and kind of trying to figure it out. If there's some kind of energy that follows humans, right? Then at a time when the planet wasn't fully fucking explored, maybe there was an energy following these lads.
And maybe
going
like this, the other thing as well is
What's
the energy.
over here,
Yeah, and the energy that follows a human is going to be based on how the human feels. So like, is there kind of a forlorn kind of a feeling of leaving your family behind and trying to move to a new place? And is that, I think it's fascinating that like, here's these lads that are just watching you. There's none of that like cryptid stuff where, you know, oh, this is dangerous, Bigfoot will throw rocks at you, blah, blah. They're just watching it, dark watchers. Like it's kind of, I don't know, it feels like it's loaded with that kind of symbolism, you know.
we have another account there.
We do. General boring stuff like shadow figures, people out of the corner of my eye, especially when around the old Fort Ord barracks. By far my strangest experience was when I was working late one night. I worked at a Starbucks location there, and I clearly saw something lurking in the bushes outside of the side windows. I couldn't make out a clear shape, but it scared me. Oddly enough, 2 Native American men came around that time. They gave me a very odd look. One peeked out the same window where I saw the thing. Then they nodded at me, took their coffee, and sat there the rest of the night, occasionally glancing out the same window. Seemed really odd, but I swear they saw it too, and I felt very safe with them in there, like they were keeping an eye on it for me. It was really, really strange. Also, just a general feeling of never really being alone at night and always being watched, especially around the fort, coming to and from the college campuses.
Oh, so we got one last one here. Bruh, I love the Big Sur. Super close to where I live currently, and I basically grew up there in the summers when my parents sent me to a month-long sleep-away camp. Watch out.
We're swinging.
I've felt some weird vibes for sure in that area. I've also seen figures dart around in the trees, walking back up to our cabins when I was younger. But that, of course, could have just been me. I never wanted to be outside in the dark for long. I've never heard of these before, however. I'll have to check it out the next time I drive down.
So they're talking more about the place, I suppose, and seeing things rather than the dark watchers themselves. But yeah, it's an interesting one. I feel like I wouldn't mind getting my hands on that book.
Yeah.
And trying to read up a bit more on it.
We have to do a night hike.
I know. I'll do a night hike.
Watchers.
We'll do, yeah.
Seems like a good way to absolutely wreck your ankles, but...
And, you know, well, we'll be all right. I don't think we get too spooked out together. Wouldn't be like that time we walked home after watching Dawn of the Dead and we were nervous.
We could end up spooking ourselves out on a night hike, though.
Do we need more people?
Maybe
to just keep us checked.
Shadow people, yeah. The Watchers are fascinating. They're just this kind of like ominous sort of, well, maybe not ominous.
Is it ominous, or is it kind of a sad sort of
farewell lads, best of luck with you? Maybe they're just the ghosts of people who died trying to do the same trips, right?
Yeah, possibly.
Would that be a likely explanation for them? Maybe. You know, again, there's a lot of emotion that goes into the act of emigration or moving or trying to find something new. So is it somehow tied in with that? Is there some kind of spiritual energy that goes into that? Who knows? Yeah, it's a weird one. I think the shadow people, like, there's a lot of different people who would have a lot of different ideas on what a shadow person is or isn't.
Yeah.
So,
and especially with this, because they're just shadow person adjacent, kind of. Do you know what I mean? They're the dark watchers, but you're looking at them from quite a distance. So I'd say even if you saw a real person at that distance, it would be a silhouette. So it's got this kind of dark, shadowy people, but it's like, yeah, but obviously they kind of are as well, you know. So it's an interesting one. And then the idea that if you get close to them, they just kind of vanish or disappear.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. It's a weird one. It's fun, and it seems like you know, you could put a lot of different ideas onto it to suit your own narrative. But yeah, it's interesting.
We both have shout out people's stories as well. If people want to check them out, it's in our earlier stuff. Shout out people episode actually, and indeed
The crossovers with Tim as well. I think we
yeah,
got into some of
we
that
have
stuff.
to do a bit of a plug as well. We'll record it at some point. We need to basically put in a little disclaimer for YouTube that if anyone does find us on YouTube, that there is indeed like nearly 400 episodes of Monster Fuzz audio
I
only.
think there's over 400.
Yeah, probably, but with Patreon and stuff, it's hard to know because we used to put them on the feed back then. But like, so basically, I think in short, with those watchers, maybe they are just a symbolic thing, whether they're conjured up by humans or whether they are.
Well, you know, we start talking about tulpas, and is there such, you know, what's even poltergeist? They say it's usually people's latent psychic ability that starts hitting the walls and blah blah blah.
Who knows then?
I certainly don't, because at the start of this episode we were talking about knowing everything, and sure, we can't know everything. It's impossible.
That's so wise, yeah.
I'm so
Smart and wise. It's insane.
My brain is like a helium balloon.
That's insane.
It's floating away. It's full of gas.
Towards the cloud.
Full of swamp gas. Yeah, my head's like
Bog man.
my head's like a bog monster. Just
He had food poisoning yesterday. God love him.
yeah. And I drank about 5 or 6 pints on top of it because I didn't realize I had it until after I had the few pints. Had a very delirious spin home.
Did you?
Not in the car. No, I was
Not
walking.
worse than being sick. Like,
Well, today it's just because you kind of go, geez, maybe I just drank more than I thought I did. But then you're like, no, but I couldn't have. And then the next
was
day,
it in a short amount of time though? Did you like?
it wasn't like I kind of stopped drinking. I was with a buddy of mine, and he
yeah.
kept going, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna calm down. And I was like, had hiccups I couldn't get rid of, but I was there. I wasn't sloppy.
Unless you had a bad pint.
Well, see, he was drinking the pints as well, so
Sure, he wouldn't. If it's who I'm thinking of, he wouldn't fucking bad pint. Wouldn't fucking.
it wouldn't affect him.
He'd make the pints bad. Yeah, so no, but that could be it. Like, could be a bad pint.
It was one or the other.
Why
Anyway.
would you drink Guinness?
Yeah,
Oh well, sure then now.
You know?
Oh, no.
Guinness is good. Like that's a bank holiday Monday drink. Do you know what I mean? You ever know Guinness for bank holiday Monday? I tell you one thing though, I've been going to the gym a lot over the last couple of weeks.
Mostly
And
that.
kind of is getting muscly trimmed down, and all it took was like one night on the Guinness or one day on the Guinness to just upend everything. It's like, go away, you fat bastard, get back to the gym.
It's a really tricky one where like it's like a tightrope. I find as you get older, where it's like the more healthy you get, the worse off you are when you drink. But then it's also nicer to be able to have a drink. Like I can't really drink much at all anymore because I don't drink.
Yeah, well,
So, like, when I do drink, like I'm well able for it. I can
Oh,
put it
you're
away,
well able, yeah,
But
yeah.
it fucking rocks me shit. Like
the next day.
body wise, I'll get like COVID or something straight away. Like it just wrecks me.
Drinking on the
system.
regular, your body just it's actually like going to the gym for your liver,
for sure,
because you're strengthening your liver by but your body's like, yeah, he's gonna keep doing this, so we need to like give him the whatever nutrients he needs to get through the day. But yeah, I'm off it now for this month, so it won't be till we start climbing Snowdon. So I could be Ben Nevis. So I could be falling around the place there, have 2 pints with the boys, and I'd be upended, which it wouldn't be good for my brand.
Something that's quite cool, actually. I'll leave it as a bonus DLC for those of you still listening. There is we're making up little badges. I mentioned them before in the pod for the people that are hiking Ben Nevis and those that hiked Snowdon last year. Shay has actually sent me the design for the Snowdon one.
I'd say it's good.
Very cool.
Yeah.
They're going to be cool little badges, and there's just a way to commemorate the experience and the whole thing. So look forward to doing that. And looking forward to seeing everyone on the mountain now. It's getting close. I need to start doing and planning Loch Ness notes. We need to actually sit down and work out a bit of a plan for them, because we might do a couple of episodes. But anyway, let's leave it there, Eamon. Do you have anything you'd like to say before we get out of here?
No, big thanks to everybody who is on the Patreon, everybody who's listening to it and reviewing it and spreading it around. We appreciate it. And if anyone is seeing it on YouTube, ChewTube or something like that for the first time, oh my God, what will they say next? The 10 most shadowy people on the mountainside. Hopefully you're enjoying it. Spread it around. Let's grow it like some sort of giant phallus.
I've been Rob.
I've been Eamon.
Monster Fuzz, over and out.